Whenever I really just sit down and then I get the thought of doing a bad habit, I always get those I always get those secondary impulses of, maybe this one time wouldn't hurt so much. I always get that, how bad could it be? But then I'm able to negate it by asking myself this one simple question that you can ask yourself too. Why do you need it? If you need it. So just ask yourself, do you need it? If you really think you do need it, why do you need it? And why do you need it? What benefit will that give you? And why will it benefit you? Just logic. Now, how this works is, by the time you've already thought about why, what, all the statistics there that, if I eat this piece of chocolate, I'll get the energy and all that, yeah. By that time, your impulse would have already gone. Your impulse of wanting to eat that would have already gone, because your monkey brain is not taking over. It's your logical brain that's thinking about why, what, how. So the impulse would probably go away because your monkey brain isn't active. Otherwise, if you come out to the conclusion that you don't need it, then you can negate your monkey brain like that as well. Now, using this, you can resist junk. You can resist, procrastinating. You can resist watching something you don't want to. Obviously, you know what I'm talking about. You can resist, the urges that in time won't serve you good. When we think in terms of our future or how it would benefit us in that moment, we're more likely to delay the gratification and not pick up that piece of chocolate and shove it down your throat for that 10 seconds of instant gratification. Because you know that it's bad for you. You know it, that chocolate is bad for you. You know that the junk food is terrible for you. And you know that when you eat that chocolate, you feel a little down on energy, right? Because that's like the sugar crash that it gives you because of the high digestion rate. It gives you that crash in energy. So you apply that logic into not wanting the chocolate. Instantly you get like almost a 2x boost, 50% booster of not wanting to eat that piece of chocolate. It's really powerful. And this resisting of urges is what we call willpower. Now the great thing about willpower is that it's a skill. And like any other skill, it can be improved upon, it can be learned, it can be built. Such as the skill of doing bicep curls properly, such as the skill of studying better, such as the skill of, getting your room ready. That is also a skill, like getting your room tidy and ready for work. That is also a skill. It's very similar to those. It's actually extremely similar to discipline. Now discipline, when we train discipline, we basically rely on our feelings less to do work, and we can just straight, like after we get that thought that we need to do this, we can straight get into it. Willpower, basically what willpower is, it is the act of not doing something when you want to. So basically when you get that idea and you've already trained your willpower will be built enough to resist that temptation, resist that urge, resist that need for it, because it's only a want, it's not a need actually. So that's how you can train willpower. No, that's not. That's why willpower is so great. You can use the willpower. One thing I recommend you do is find your triggers. Every one of us, we have a certain set of conditions. And when we meet those conditions, we're most likely to do a bad habit. Say, for example, I'm bored. I have my phone, and then I go on to a website that does contain some stuff that you may not want to see, otherwise that can generate sexual urges in you. And so you go on that site. So maybe this is Twitter for you, maybe this is Instagram, maybe this is some social media. You go on that, you get the urge, and then you do that bad habit. Now, when you met those conditions of being lazy, being lonely, doing nothing really, just literally vibing, and you have that phone, and then you open your phone, you go on that specific website, you meet those 3, 4, 5 conditions. You're like that. Each condition you meet increases the likelihood of how you're if you're going to do that bad habit or not. Now that's what I mean triggers. If you realize that if you're in these 5, 6 conditions, that entire set of 5, 6 conditions is one trigger, then you realize that these other 5, 6 conditions cause that, and and so on and so on. You maybe find 4, 5, 6 sets of conditions, and those are like 4 or 5 triggers. Now you want to plan your day in such a way that you never meet those triggers. This it's not fully related to willpower and increasing willpower, but it's 100% related in urge generation, which is a huge part, which is the first step of willpower, because you have to have that urge in order to use the willpower to diminish that urge. So it's an important part, and I recommend everyone does it. Everyone should plan their day so that they never ever meet those conditions. There can also be some triggers where you turn into a complete degenerate, as in when you go to parties, you completely forget that you're on self-improvement and you just indulge on the snacks that are kept on the counter. Maybe you get a couple drinks of Coke, maybe you start, I'm a teenager, that's why I'm talking about fucking Coke, but alcohol isn't like forbidden here. In parties, it's pretty common to see alcohol in teenage parties. So maybe you even go and indulge in alcohol. You should primarily avoid parties then, because that is a trigger for you, and you won't feel bad afterwards. It's like I always say, it's better to be safe than to be sorry. There's no point of being sorry. I mean, obviously you can be sorry, maybe you will learn from that, but it's way, way, way better to be safe than to be sorry. And this is in all aspects, but let's stick to willpower here. So, if a party is a trigger for you to go and indulge in degeneracy, do not go to parties. Primarily avoid them. Maybe go for ones that are important to you. Now that we've talked about why willpower is great, what is willpower, and what are triggers and how you can avoid them, let's get into how do we increase willpower. Now, willpower is a skill. We covered that. And an extension to that question of do you need it, that is the main way, in my opinion, you can increase willpower. So, one way to skyrocket it is, say for example, you keep a bar of chocolate, your favorite chocolate, absolute favorite. Keep it on your desk and keep it there while you're working while you're just on your desk. Maybe you're learning something from a course on YouTube, and yeah, just generally just keep it on your desk. Now, when you get the thought of I should eat this chocolate, ask yourself, do I need it? If I do, why do I need it? Again, this is what I talked about in the earlier. Ask yourself, do you need it? Why do you need it? So much more. Now, after you ask yourself this, you might be likely to delay gratification. But if you don't delay gratification, you want to write down what conditions you were in. And that could be a trigger, that could be a trigger. So maybe you eat one piece of chocolate and then you keep it back there. It could be a trigger. And not only are you able to get the chance to delay gratification and increase your willpower, because if you say no, it's an increase, like a plus 50 to your EXP of willpower. And even if you eat it, you get to realize that this is a trigger and I should avoid it in its entirety. These conditions, these sets, these environment, avoid it entirely. And then slowly but surely you will gain experience in willpower, and your willpower level will increase and increase and increase. Now, what another great thing is that willpower that you use to resist that chocolate can be used to resist sexual urges, to resist other bad temptations, to resist other forms of unhealthy, to resist that party, to resist that invitation, to resist what is not good for you. And then it just piles up one upon one and upon one upon one, and it's just the most powerful thing on earth. Now, as a closing statement, a lot of people say that you don't need discipline and willpower, just make the work that you do intrinsically fun. I agree with that, but you do need discipline and willpower. See, when stuff is intrinsically motivating, it's like a game to you. You will need willpower and discipline to resist overworking yourself, to resist overtraining yourself, maybe to resist being overly conscious about nutrition, that it takes up so much of your time of your day so that you have nothing to do, to resist the things that may seem good, but in the long run they provide you with nothing, no benefit whatsoever. You need to be careful. I 100% agree with work needing to be intrinsically motivating. I think that's the biggest factor when it comes to purpose and passion and entrepreneurship. But have discipline and willpower. These two skills, when you culminate them, I think it's cultivate, but whatever the fuck. Yeah, it's cultivate. When you cultivate these skills, you will practically be unstoppable. I'm not saying this for the fuck of saying it, because the discipline can be used for things that you may not enjoy. Schoolwork, those obligations. Willpower can obviously be used not only to resist those distractions during work, like looking at your phone, looking at this, looking at that, but resisting temptations, urges that arise outside of work. That's why they're so important. I think willpower in cultivating good skill of willpower is one of the most impressive things a man can do, because understanding his triggers, understanding where he goes wrong, understanding his temptations, his urges, is possibly one of the most difficult things that I have ever faced. And I still face difficulties with it. I still am not perfect. Trust me, building this a good sense of willpower takes a long time. It's way, way, way harder than discipline. But in order to live a life of amazing, like an amazing life, an amazing life, you should cultivate willpower as well. There are a lot of other skills that you can cultivate, a lot of things that you can cultivate, but I personally think in self-discipline and is it resistance? I don't think that's the right term, but I'm going to use self-resistance because that makes sense in this context to me. That is something amazing.